I'm Carol Gordon Exter, and I'm here today to read you two of my books. I write from the heart of a teacher. I taught fourth grade for 35 years, and I wrote this book, Ruth the Sleuth and the Messy Room, after dealing with many messy desks. I hope you like it. I hope it helps you become a more organized student. Ruth the Sleuth and the Messy Room by Carol Gordon Exter, illustrated by Kimberly Soderberg. Ruth, you've got 10 minutes, Ruth's mom said as she slid the tray of chocolate chip cookies into the oven. I set the timer, and when the buzzer goes off, I want the pot holder you borrowed for your toy oven. Can you find it in that room of yours? No problem, Mom. I'm Ruth the Sleuth, and I can find anything I put my mind to. And see, there's a countdown clock in the corner. First, Ruth opened her toy oven. No pot holder, but a shoelace from her old sneakers slipped out. She tied it around her head. Next, Ruth slid under her bed, parting the sea of clothes and toys. She scanned the mess but did not spot the pot holder. She slithered out like a salamander sliding out from under a rock. Ruth flipped over and stretched out her leg to reach the wastebasket. She tapped it with her toe, uncovering the blue crayon that had rolled away last week. No pot holder there, but the crayon begged to be used. After a few scribbles, she dropped her picture on the floor. She hopped over to the chair. It wouldn't rock. An eraser she had misplaced there last week sat wedged under the rocker rails. She scooped it up, shot it across the room, and made a basket. At her desk, Ruth nudged a pile of papers. Her favorite book peeked out from under the heap. She flipped through a few pages, then tossed it over her shoulder. That's when she noticed a yellow envelope at the edge of her desk with an old birthday card inside. When she opened the card, a neatly folded $10 bill parachuted to the floor. Money, 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 Ruth sang as she danced around the piles. When her celebration was finished, Ruth tunneled through the hill of shoes at the bottom of her closet. The pot holder wasn't there, but she spied her very favorite sneakers from last year in the corner. She squinched her eyes shut and made a wish. Then she blew off the thick layer of dust. Little dust fairies scattered around her head. She shoved her toes into the too tight sneakers and shuffled off to track down the pot holder. Where could it be, she wondered. I'm Ruth the Sleuth, and I can find anything I put my mind to. Wasn't I the one who always found Mr. Zucker's glasses? Didn't I find Madison's lunch card when no one else could? Who needs organized drawers and closets? Not me. Ruth, Mom called. You have a visitor. It was Ruth's new neighbor. Hey, Zach. Hey, Ruth. Want to come out and play? Okay, Ruth answered. Mom shook her head. Sorry, Zach. Ruth is working on something for me. Ruth asked, Mom, can Zach come in and help me? Sure, but it's such a nice day. Maybe Zach would rather be outside. I'll help, Zach offered. He stepped into a bedroom and giggled. Wow, it looks like a giant vacuum threw up in here. I love my room, Ruth frowned. Zach jumped into one of the piles, dove into another, and then rolled around the stuff covering the floor. He brushed himself off and announced, Gotta go. Ruth's shoulders slumped. Maybe I'll see you in a few minutes. Ruth heard the door close. Suddenly she wanted fresh air more than a hungry dog wanted treats. She decided to write a note on her reminder board to make better piles, to find things more easily. But the marker for her dry erase board wasn't hanging on its hook. Ruth, 2 minutes left, Mom warned. I'm on the case, Ruth shouted. Ruth crouched down under the desk and felt around the mounds of toys to see if it had dropped there. Ow! No marker, but she felt something sharp poke her tummy. A little scrape wouldn't stop Ruth. She pulled at the top desk drawer, but it was too stuffed with papers to open. She grabbed it with both hands and yanked as hard as she could. Ouch! Her finger throbbed with a splinter. She stretched over the desk to look behind it. There, sticking out from under her bicycle helmet, was Mom's potholder. "Wahoo!" Ruth cheered. "I got it!" The buzzer blasted. Beep, beep, beep. Ruth zoomed into the kitchen, curtsied, and handed over the potholder, just as the heat shot out of the opened oven door. "I'm Ruth the Sleuth, and I can find anything I put my mind to. And now I'm off to find my friend." And the last page you'd have to look at, you can see not only does she find her friend, but look how clean her room is, and she's sharing the cookies with Zach. And then if you get hungry after reading this book, you can make Ruth's favorite chocolate chip cookies, and there's a parent's guide to growing organized kids, and there's even a little game to play to help you clean up your room. Thanks for listening. Now I'm going to share my very first book, Where Am I Sleeping Tonight? A Story of Divorce. I actually had a little boy in my class many years ago who lived a schedule just like this, and I wrote it in his honor. Where Am I Sleeping Tonight? A Story of Divorce by Carol Gordon Exter, illustrated by Sue Rama. "Mark, whose house are we at?" my little brother Evan whispers. My eyes aren't open, but I am awake. I smell coffee and hear Maddie in the morning's radio show coming from down the hall. "We're at Dad's," I answer. Mom and Dad got divorced 3 years ago. It can be tricky living at two houses. This is our second night at Dad's, and then we'll have 2 nights at Mom's, then back to Dad's again. Now that I'm in 4th grade, it's getting complicated. I have a lot to remember. Like today, my book report is due. Luckily, it's done and ready to go by the door. But sometimes I forget things. Like I leave a book that I need for homework at Mom's and Dad has to get it. Or I leave my homework at the counter at Mom's and she drops it off at school. Mrs. DeMott, my teacher, feels pretty strongly about how many homeworks I forget. Fired, fired, fired. That's what I'd say if you worked for me, Mark. It's important to be responsible. I've gotten that lecture more times than the number of pizza nights we have at Dad's. Not that I ever mind eating pizza. Evan doesn't have my problem. I mean, sometimes he forgets his sneakers for phys ed. He's only in 1st grade, and how much homework does a 1st grader get anyway? Evan and I are dressed, our teeth brushed, and we're ready to head out. Our lunches and book bags wait for us at the front door. This is our new routine, since Mrs. DeMott left messages on both my parents' answering machines. Mom replayed it for me, and Dad reported, "Mrs. DeMott is not happy about how many homeworks you've forgotten." He skipped the, "I need your cooperation for Mark to succeed. I only forgot 1 assignment since." Okay, so it's only been 2 weeks, but my mind is made up. I set a goal to be more responsible. Mrs. DeMott is big on goals, and she's a pretty cool teacher. Dad has his coffee breath kiss ready for us. When we're at Dad's, it's always a breakfast at school day. So we just head right out to the bus stop. "See you guys Thursday. I'll pick you up at school." "It's the first day of floor hockey, right?" I answer, "Think so, Dad." Actually, I feel like saying, "Isn't that what I count on you for, Dad, to help keep my schedule straight? You're the one who got the divorce." But my lips stay sealed, tighter than a zipped-up baggie. Evan and I both agree that we like the days at Dad's better. He wins that contest hands down, but we'd never let Mom know. It isn't a love contest. It's about where we can do what we want. At Dad's, we play games until we're in a computer stupor. At Mom's, she and our stepdads have rules, lots of rules. There's no TV on a test night. It's not like I study the whole time anyway. And I get only an hour a day of computer time. After 59 minutes and 59 seconds, Mom calls, "Mark, your hour is up." It's like she has a timer in her brain. I heard Dad on the phone with Mom last night. Yes, Susan, his book report is propped up by the door, too big to miss. Both my parents like to make sure I'm not goofing off in school. Last night I thought about picking up the receiver. Mom, it would be easier to check up on me if you stayed married to Dad. But I acted like a robot with a computer chip that demanded resume normal functioning. Evan sits next to me on the bus. He whistles away like a wind-up toy. He's too young to understand this whole shared custody thing, too young to get confused or lose track of reports left on tables at Mom's house or under the desk in our room at Dad's. He's lucky to have me as a big brother, to help him keep it all together. Keep it all together. I picture Mrs. DeMott's reminder board right near the door of the classroom. You'd have to have both eyes closed to miss it. What if I put one of those wipe-off slates by the door of each house? Evan and I could make checking off the list part of what we do every morning, no matter which house we're at. Mrs. DeMott would approve. The class has heard all about the importance of making lists and being organized since the first day of school. I couldn't wait to talk to Mom and Dad about this. Mom and Dad. Every time I think about how I have to speak to them separately, I get that bad taste kind of feeling, like when I eat cheese sharp enough to make my whole face pucker. Every wish I've made on a wishbone or birthday candles has been a wish for them to get back together. Maybe it's time to wish for something I can actually get. I decide that for Evan's sake, I would point out how lucky we are. We are loved a lot, not in just one, but 2 homes. Could it be that Mom and Dad's talks about this have slowly seeped into my brain? The bus rolls into its spot near the school, and I slide my arm along Evan's shoulder. He gives me that look like I'm a 10-headed monster with one eye. Can't a guy give his brother a hug? I mean, he's the only other person in the whole world that does this crazy schedule with me. And even if he doesn't get it all yet, when he starts to have questions, I'll be his answer man. I'll be there for him every day of the week. I jump off the bus knowing I have this goal all tied up. It won't just be Evan who can count on me. I run to the playground, hearing in my head Mrs. DeMott's new chant when I hand her in my homework. Hired, hired, hired. And that sounds great to me. Thank you.